What's happening, people? It's Sunday. This is pretty nice. This is pretty nice. It's Sunday, Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. I figured I'd come on today and talk a little bit. Hey. So I hope you see this. Franz Kellner, thank you for wanting to share your music with me. That what you heard at the top was from this CD that I just received a couple days ago from, again, someone who watches. Sent a nice letter and some tea. Yes, I like tea. Thank you. People, you're all so very, very, very kind. Franz, what I want to tell you is this is the second time I've listened to the CD, not the entire CD. Thank you for sharing your music with me. He sent me his band, Die Band auf dem Drahtseil. Unter Engeln is the name of it. Okay. There's no barcode or anything, so it looks like it's independent release. It's a real CD that always captures my interest. It's like, how do people afford to do this? How do people afford to do this? Because I can barely afford to do it. I'd be making CDs if I had the overhead. He also sent me his son's band, Anton Kellner and the Lone Stars. You Were the Fire. Both of these outings are really well done. And I think the first and most honest response I can give, first off, is that thank you for sharing your music with me. I would not have heard this otherwise. There's no way. It's not on. They're not on Discogs, or I can't find anything about these. Of the two, this one, they're both well made, and there's a lot of variety on this one in the music. It's in German. I think it's German, so I don't understand the words, and that's beside the point. This has a lot of variety from song to song, and it sounds like you folks are this is important to you, and that it's an expression of life. So I in particular like the music and the variety of the music on the Die Band auf dem Drahtseil. This is interesting. It's mostly instrumental with these kind of wordless vocals, at least way so far what I've listened to it. And it has an interesting mix of instruments. Is that banjo that I heard on this? I have to come back to it, but I wanted to acknowledge that they came, and I really appreciate you sharing your music with me. Thank you. Heard from someone else who wants to send his music to me, and the things that you folks are saying to me, thank you. I am humbled. As I say to people, there's no guarantee that I'll like what you send to me, but apparently my honesty in speaking about music is what you're interested in. And so, bring it on. I had a gig last night. I'll talk about it in a second. But one CD that I played that I hadn't played in a long time, and it was like, oh man, this is, again, the beauty of the collection. Lawrence D. Butch Morris, Dust to Dust, the man who invented the term conduction. This is a mixture of jazz and classical, and it's beautiful. The first track is called Othello B. The second one is called the Bartok Comprovisation, and it's beautiful. And interestingly, this starts off. This is made back in, released in 1991. The way it starts with a dated patch, a dated synth patch, one that has been overused in commercials in the past. And when you hear it, that's the first thing I hear is this bell tone that makes me think of, I don't know what the commercial is. But thankfully, they take it and move it into its own territory. They don't fall on it as a gimmick. So I wanted to mention this. I've got a couple other of his recordings. Deep stuff, really incredibly good. Excuse me. Let me get another sip. Yeah, I slept in this shirt. This is what I played in last night. In Lincoln with the David Nance Mode Sound. Our whole set is online. And I'll leave a link to it here. You can watch us and listen to us. And we were missing the usual guitar player, Jim Schroeder. He had another a gig. So we had a steel guitar player, Mike Freeman, who's played with Simon Joyner, among others, played with us. It worked, and it was pretty good. It took a second, but we warmed up. You can see it and hear it. It's actually pretty decent. I'll leave the link. I very much enjoy playing music with David. Our approach is very different. But what I like about David is that when he plays, he's really just trying to get down to his core. He's really trying to be as honestly soulful as he can be in his delivery of his music. And when I'm playing with him on stage, not only do I hear it, but I feel it. Watch the concert and tell me if you pick up on it or not. Dave's choice of material and the way he writes songs is not my it's not what I'm most interested in music. I'll keep saying it like this. The difference is when you can share the experience of making music with someone else and find out what that's about. And I definitely can vibe with people who are honest and really connected with their craft. You know, the songwriting, the playing, the delivery, whatever it is. It's all, it's a craft as well as a gift. So I really enjoyed the show. And like I said, you can watch it. It's online, the whole thing. Excited about the album coming out. I've listened to it several times since then. The test pressing. Was talking to David about it last night, and Kevin, the drummer Kevin, enthusing about this. This is due out in a couple of months. Again, on Jack White's label. I love being able to say that. And I was sharing that with David, that it's, even though it's his project and his deal, it's still a feather in my cap that I appear on the album and it's on Jack White's label. That has personal significance to me. I'm very thankful about it, and it sounds great. He also let me know that the person who mastered this album, who's been doing some mastering for Third Man, is Warren DeFavor of the band His Name Is Alive. They were on 4AD. Check them out. It sounds wonderful. I'm really excited about that. So, it's Father's Day. Friday was Kareem's birthday. I knew the 16th was significant. It wasn't until later in the day that I caught up with this people wishing Kareem a happy birthday. So, like I said, June is a loaded month. Happy birthday, Kareem. My relationship with my dad was conflicted, but I love him, love him still. I am definitely his son, a lot like him. There's parts of him that I very decidedly chose not to develop or put a focus on. Some of the negatives. We all have negatives. Overall, what my dad gave to me as a dad is priceless, and it totally outweighs the abuse and the madness from his drug abuse, as well as his own demons. It outweighs all that madness. It really does. I'm so happy to be his son. And so to everyone, happy Father's Day. Yesterday, before going to the rehearsal and then the gig, I got obsessed with this album. I really like Ladytron. This is their new album, Time's Arrow. I've showed it when I bought it. But The Night, the first track on the B-side, it caught me. That's what I like. I cannot predict. It's not a style of music that will guarantee that I get this reaction to. I never know. This is all icy and even kind of cold sounding, and I love it. Marnie's voice and the way that her minimal melodies on this music, I think is fantastic. I have, I think, 3 or 4 Ladytron albums. My friends in the Pink got to, I think, either tour with them or do some shows with them. Wish I could have seen those. So that was hot on the playlist yesterday. I probably played it 5 or 6 times. I like that when something is so good to me, I got to play it over and over again. So like, it's still on my, the way that The Night starts. That's all I can play because I know that I'll get a copyright strike if I play any more. But that, it just drives. It's very cool. Very, very cool. A couple more records sitting out because I've been saying to myself, since I reordered and I can put everything away and didn't go to the record store, I like that I can put everything away and not end up with a big stack where I can't put it away. So I've been leaving some records out the last couple of days so I can talk about them. Manfred Schoof Quintet. I always have to remind myself, yes, Manfred Schoof was the trumpeter, flugelhornist. But on here he's got Jasper Van Toff on piano, who really stands out as well. I mean, this is a really good album. The whole band is wonderful. Ralph Hubner on drums. Scales, this is on ECM. He also put records out on Japo. The labels are related. This is wonderful. And Ostinato, or is it, no, Weep and Cry on side 2. Gorgeous. Beautiful. And I love that minimal cover. I love that. That's some jazz for you. You know, if you don't know about Manfred Schoof. And Jackie Liebezeit, before he joined Can, played drums with Manfred Schoof. I've got one of those records. I do. Here's one I haven't played in a long time, and it's wonderful. And it's like, again, it's one where I'm surprised that prog heads don't talk about this more or seemingly don't know about it. The composer and soundtrack guy, James Newton Howard, I think he did some important stuff with Elton John too. But he put out this solo album in, 1970 is this? 1974. Before he was making a name for himself as a, in movies. This is all keyboard. It's very melodic. It's really wonderful. But here is something of interest that makes it even more of an accomplishment. It took him 3 years to record this album because he only had monophonic synthesizers besides his piano to make this with. So all of the synthesizer chords that you hear, he had to record each note one at a time. He couldn't play them like a chord. He had to play one note at a time, record that, then go back in on another track, record the other note, and create the harmonies, the chords. It's quite a feat, and as complicated and beautiful as this album is, you can hear why it took him 3 years with that limited technology. I mean, again, this was 1974. You proggers, John McCrae, you watching? You have this album, right? That's the good shit. That is the good shit. right quick, back to Victoria Shen. I'm going to bug her about doing something. I don't know what yet, because she is so wildly talented. But I listened to this all the way through, and I appreciate what John Walker said about this. He gave some feedback where he said he doesn't think he could listen to this in his home. There's a lot of people who couldn't listen to this in their homes, but I'm one who can. This is wonderful, and I found myself just, it's like it doesn't sound anything like the performance she did here in Omaha. That's one thing. And then the other thing is she's working with sounds and noise, and yet there's a composition to this, and there's a flow to it, and it keeps my interest. So glad to make her acquaintance, and I am looking to collaborate with her somehow or do a show with her before she's done with her residency. Cheers. What else? Everett, if you see this, I'm trying the earthing and the grounding. It's like I just went ahead and went out, sat in the front yard, took my shoes and socks off, and then I walked around, and it's like, oh, yeah. And it reminds me of how the fact of it's been so long since I've been to the beach or just been out in nature with no shoes on. Do you all have that experience when you're barefoot on the ground, you feel it? Even at the beach, when you put your feet in the sand, don't you notice it? I do. I always have. And so, great suggestion, Everett, for the sake of good health. When I'm done with this, I'm going to take my cup and go walk around my front yard barefoot for a while. Yeah, it just makes sense, and we'll see if there's an overall effect. But thank you for the suggestion. I had actually started watching one of those earthing movies and just stopped and don't need to see the rest of the movie. It was like, oh yeah, let me do this, okay? Cheers. So, that's about it. I'm feeling good. I guess that's why I'm sort of like waiting to see what else rises to the surface. That's it. Things are good. I could go on about Lincoln, it was a really positive experience, and I ate some sushi down there, so that was nice, to go out for a meal. And it was again where it's like I feel blessed, and I'll never take it for granted, and it still surprises me how well known I am. David goes to introduce me to people last night, and even not being introduced, people just like the band before us, I didn't recognize any of them, and there's Dereck Higgins. I love it. Yeah, I'll share this. We actually talked about it because one of David's friends that came to see us, I had never met her before, and she says, I've heard so much about you. I'm really glad to meet you. You're a legend. That word is used a lot about me, legend. And David asked me, well, how do you feel about that, Dereck? What do you feel about being called a legend, And I said, well, I know that when people use the word legend, it's usually talking about someone that's dead or close to dying. Number one, I'm glad to still be alive to appreciate being called a legend, okay? As I'm saying this, the other woman that I just met, she said, well, really what I mean is icon. You're an icon. She says, I can't tell you how many times I've heard about you and hear about you just going about my business. She's related to arts in Lincoln. And so I was just sharing that, I appreciate it. Don't let it go to my head, but I've earned it. I mean, if you want to look at why someone would call you a legend, especially in relation to Nebraska music, well, there's definitely a legacy. So I appreciate it. I love it, actually, and don't mind it at all. What I do mind, and I had to delete from someone who's not a friend of mine on Facebook, was that I put some pictures on from the show last night, and one is where I'm with Les Greer, who is an old friend and ran Lefty's Records until he sold it. There's a couple pictures of us, where one I'm doing my silly eyes, because it's great to see Les. But someone I don't know posted a comment with the picture of Bill Cosby. Now, I love Bill Cosby, but because of what has happened in his life, when people say that I look like Bill Cosby or they make the reference, I take it as an insult. And so I deleted those. The person that did them, I don't know that person, so that's why I'm saying this is probably a dig. Don't appreciate it. But that's, again, one of the things that comes with being a public person is the both sides of the coin. I deal with it. Okay, happy Father's Day.